Let me set the scene. It's 1977 in Le Mans, France. The Renault-Porsche rivalry was in full swing, and it was Renault who was taking charge. The A442 was a phenomenal race car that was more than a match for the Porsche 936. 3 Alpines and 2 Porsches were duking it out for the outright win that year, and that soon became 0 Porsches because the number 4 936 had double mechanical failure and lost 15 laps in the pits, while the number 3 car had complete engine failure and was out. And just like that, Renault had a 1-2-3, and Porsche was imploding in just the first 3 hours of the 24-hour race. So, they got the number 4 working, and in a desperate move, Porsche sent their star driver Jackie Ickx out to win or break down trying. The man drove like a bat out of hell, moving up from 41st place to 9th in just 2 hours. He broke the lap record multiple times, with his final time being just 2 seconds slower than his qualifying pace. As the 12-hour mark passed, his sprint got Porsche up to 4th. It was incredible pace that was 10 seconds per lap faster than Alpine at some points, but they were still 6 laps down on the leader, and there were only 6 hours left in the race by the time things started going their way. The heavens opened up as the 3rd place Renault retired from lost oil pressure. Then the next Renault lost 30 minutes in the pits with gearbox problems and later terminal engine failure. Now they're in 2nd, and that's where Jackie Ickx's story ends. He drove a monster 11-hour stint in which he recovered 39 places and 11 laps on the leader. But he had maxed his allowable racing time per FISA regulations. But it didn't matter. His teammates performed well and were subsequently rewarded with the sight of the final Alpine blowing his engine with just 3 hours to go. And with that, the number 4 Porsche, that was 15 laps down, suddenly had a 16-lap lead over 2nd place and took a truly stunning victory. But amazingly, that 15-lap down recovery is not Le Mans' greatest recovery drive. To see that, we have to talk about 2017, the day LMP1 died. For the record, this video covers the 2017 24 Hours of Le Mans, but it does not cover the truly epic battle between Aston Martin, Ford, and Chevrolet for the win in GTLM. That battle is what racing is all about. 3 different manufacturers with 3 different design philosophies deciding the podium finishing order of a 24-hour race with daring last lap passes and a late stage puncture with impeccable dramatic timing. But this video is not about that scrap. It was a great race, and one of the best moments of Le Mans in a long time. But so much happened with the prototypes, I want to stick to a consistent narrative, because I want to talk about something even more chaotic. The hybrid LMP1 rules have been in place since 2012 to great success, with Audi, Toyota, and Porsche all winning championships between 2012 and 2016. They had proven themselves to be the safest, fastest, and most fuel-efficient closed-wheeled racers to ever exist. They had also proven themselves to be the most expensive Le Mans cars to ever exist, with Audi spending over $200 million on the 2016 program alone. That is front-running Formula 1 money, and by 2017, there were only 6 cars left. 3 Toyotas, 2 Porsches, and 1 privateer Beichel's. Even worse, Porsche announced at the start of 2017 that it was to be their final year of competition before they withdrew, and it was setting up to be a close one. Toyota won in the opening round at Silverstone, but Porsche's 2-3 gave them the championship lead. But then Toyota won again at Spa, this time with a comfortable 1-2 finish to take the championship lead away from the Germans. And next was Le Mans, and everybody had just a bit extra motivation to win than normal. For Porsche, they wanted to retire with the Le Mans hat trick 3 in a row, while Toyota wanted redemption. Redemption for their 2016 heartbreak, where they commanded the second half of the race comfortably until they broke down with turbo failure just 3 minutes before the finish. As a result of their 2016 heartbreak, the TS050 got completely revamped, with new bodywork and a new turbocharged V6 that made 986 horsepower when combined with the hybrid system. They further refined these systems with multiple 30-hour-long tests during preseason. And sure enough, Toyota was fast. 2 seconds per lap faster in qualifying than Porsche. Such was their blistering pace that Kamui Kobayashi, set the all-time lap record at Le Mans, and given the pace of LMP1 compared to the current hypercar regulations, I think that record is going to stand for quite a long time. As you would expect with that blistering pace, Toyota number 7 and number 8 immediately sprinted off into the distance. This was not a close battle like 2016. Toyota took a comfortable lead early on. In fact, the lead only swapped twice between the cars. Once when the number 7 ran wide, and another time during pit stops. But for the rest of the field, things already had kicked off. The Bicol's Privateer LMP1 lost the rear and crashed, retiring after just 7 laps. Then the number 38 Jackie Chan LMP2 car did the same, but this time they didn't DNF, they were able to make it back to the pits, losing several minutes. Oh yeah, Jackie Chan bought an LMP2 team. Yeah, they were using Orecas, and they had 2 cars enter the event under Jackie Chan Racing. More you know. Anyway, one of them was falling down the grid, but nowhere near as far as Porsche. 3.5 hours into the race, the number 2 Porsche dove into the pits with a broken front axle hybrid motor. Now, teams have a right to fix components and retire when they seem fit, so they weren't out, but having to replace your entire front hybrid motor puts you at a severe disadvantage. It cost them 65 minutes to get the car working, and they had a mountain to climb. They lost 18 laps and was down in 54th place. Second last of the cars still running. Porsche had some minor consolation when the number 1 overtook the number 8 Toyota for second, but that's still second. The number 7 remained a clear frontrunner. So after the pit stop cycle ran its course by the 7th hour, Toyota was leading 1-2-4, and they were pretty pleased with the situation. And then the world remembered that this was Toyota at Le Mans, and they can't have any of that. The number 8 Toyota running second had its brakes catch on fire. Pitting to fix that problem made them see the same problem that plagued their rival: an additional broken hybrid motor. This one, in a more difficult to reach spot than the front axle, cost them 90 minutes, and they found themselves in the same boat as the number 2 Porsche. Speaking of, between hours 6 and 10, that Porsche made up 34 places. Now, granted, that's because they were overtaking GT class cars, not LMPs, but that is still immense progress fueling their way through the traffic. And besides, it didn't matter much anyway. It was still a Toyota 1-3 up front, and the number 1 Porsche wasn't exactly making up any ground in the number 7, which had been leading Le Mans for 8 hours straight by this point of the event. Hours 10 and 11 were very unkind to Toyota. Sure, the number 8 rejoined the race, having lost 1.5 hours and 50 positions, but the number 7, which was leading comfortably, had a pit lane kerfuffle, as I would describe it, where a series of communication accidents led to Kobayashi accidentally launching the car with the gas motor and not the hybrid system. That put so much torque and power through the clutch from a standstill, and cooked the clutch and killed the car. It was dead. And just like that, Porsche had the overall lead for the second year in a row with a Toyota malfunction. But hey, this time, Toyota had a third car to chase him down, the number 9, right? Well, literally within seconds of the number 7 cooking its clutch, the number 9 had a collision with an LMP2 car and got a puncture. Now, there are 13 hours left in this race. That is still plenty of time to fix the car and make up that lost lap or two. Until their driver pushed way too hard on that flat tire and shredded the rear left side of the car to pieces, destroying the bodywork and the hydraulic lines. The number 9 was dead. Within 30 minutes, the entire Toyota team collapsed, and Porsche could cruise on to an easy victory as the only LMP car not to have any mechanical problems. This also meant that for the first time ever, there were 2 LMP2 cars on the overall podium, the number 31 and number 13 cars of Rebellion Racing. Now it was Porsche's turn to cruise to the win since it was only LMP2s behind, and that meant they pulled 14 laps on second place without a problem. And the number 2 was back into the top 10. After a rocky start, things were looking very good for Porsche. Toyota's lone surviving TS050 was also making great progress, jumping 29 positions in this time period. And in a rarity for 2017, there weren't any problems at all for our remaining protagonists between hours 12 and 19. Mainly because the first 12 hours were complete chaos. But then it was time for yet another twist in this Shyamalan-esque production, hour 20. The number 1 Porsche inherited the lead 11 hours ago at this point, but that didn't stop the 919 from losing all of its oil and ultimately retiring on lap 318 out of the lead. The number 2 was still down in 8th, and the number 8 was still down in 13th, which meant that for the first and only time in history, an LMP2 class car was leading the race with just a quarter of the race to go. And even more amazingly, it was the number 38 Jackie Chan racing car that spun into the wall earlier. They had staged a brilliant recovery drive to gradually work their way up through the field, and with just 3 hours to go, Oreca became just the 6th constructor of the 21st century to lead Le Mans outright. And the sole surviving Porsche was in second, but it was 8 laps behind. It was closing in at 10 seconds per lap, and provided the race didn't get yellow flagged, they would theoretically catch the number 38 with just an hour to go. This gave the teams a dilemma. Winning outright is a dream come true, and the highest point of many drivers' careers. But Porsche and Jackie Chan were losing their respective championships, and a class win gets you no more points than an overall win. I mean, Toyota is still classified as second in LMP1, despite being 13th on track. So both teams, much to the boredom of some fans I would imagine, decided to just let the average race pace settle the score, and they ran their own races. The number 38 impressively led at the end of hour 21 and hour 22, but with just 1 hour and 7 minutes left on the clock, the number 2 LMP1 Porsche overtook the number 38 LMP2 Jackie Chan, and Porsche won for the 3rd consecutive year. Timo Bernard, Brendan Hartley, and Earl Bamber made it the number 2's 2nd shock victory in a row, after that was the same number that won Le Mans in 2016 after Toyota's breakdown. The podium was rounded out by the number 38 Jackie Chan Racing Team and the number 13 Rebellion Racing Team LMP2s until the number 13 was disqualified from 3rd overall because of illegally modifying the rear bodywork to do repairs. This promoted the other Jackie Chan car, the number 37, up to third, making it a 1-2 in class and a double overall podium. Ultimately, the lone surviving Toyota finished 8th overall and 2nd in class to get the points. But it didn't matter. Porsche's overall win got them into the championship lead. It was the first of 4 consecutive victories that ultimately sealed Porsche's 3rd and final LMP1 championship. Toyota walked away from the season with nothing at all again. Toyota's president, Akio Toyoda, stated that the cars had gone so fast that they outpaced the hybrid component's durability. Now let me say, with my armchair expertise, that it's probably more so down to horrific luck for the whole class that things went the way that they did. 2 of the top class were taken out by accident damage, 1 was retired by human error, and 1 had miscellaneous mechanical problems, and the only 2 that actually finished were the ones with hybrid problems. That laundry list of calamities brings me back to the introduction of this video, where I ended it with the phrase, "The day LMP1 died." And sure, that list supports the literal meaning of the phrase. The LMP1 class had a 100% casualty rate, with no car escaping woes at some point in the race. But the real meaning of that was metaphorical. The end of an era. With Peugeot, then Audi, and now Porsche gone, it was only Toyota left. Normally, that would mean the class dies right away, similar to GT1 after 1998, but for whatever reason, the FIA kept LMP1 on life support. Before 2018, there were 2 different LMP1 championships, one for privateers and one for factory teams, since the performance disparity was deemed too vast for a fair fight. But in a desperate and quite frankly foolish maneuver, the FIA forced the independent privateers to face off against the largest car company in the world. Between 2018 and 2022, Toyota won 24 out of 27 World Endurance Championship races held in that time, including 9 in a row between Spa 2020 and Bahrain 2021. If it wasn't for a disqualification at the 2018 Silverstone 6 Hours, they would have had a 13-race winning streak. Sure, it's great that Toyota finally won after literal decades of bad luck, but even they admit that these were somewhat hollow wins without factory competition. So in a sense, 2017 was the last gasp of LMP1 competition, the last time the championship lead would change between competitors for 5 years. Le Mans that year was a race out of time. Epic GT battles, crazy technology, and the acute unreliability made it seem more like a race from the 1970s or 80s. And we almost certainly will never see anything like it ever again.